Hello and welcome to Always Elite. Today we're going to review Aew Dynamite from Cleveland, Ohio on the 29th of January 2020. But before we get to that, the content giveaway that I mentioned in my previous video. Now, if I can get to 100 subscribers by the time the end of March, by the time I open the box in March, that person will receive any item that they choose out of that box, including, I said the last time that I wasn't going to include the signature, but I am going to include the picture signature now. Whatever signed photo, if you want that one, you can have that one. I just need 100 subscribers, and I need you to comment in the comments that you subscribed so I can add your name to the list. So it's going to be a random draw for one item out of the box in March. Now let's get on to the AEW Dynamite. First starts off with Moxley coming out to talk about that the fun is over with Chris Jericho now. He's the only man left that is in his way to the top of the mountain. He says he's no role model and he's no hero, but he has honor. Calls Jericho a liar and a bully and a coward. Mox says he hates bullies and he's going to take the AEW world title from Jericho because he's a bully. Says he's not going to play Jericho's games anymore. He's waiting for Jericho to come out after this point. Jericho does come out, but not for a fight. Jericho says that the only thing that Moxley has earned is a spike to the eye. Says he saw Moxley's mom backstage. Says he's going to call her later just to get Moxley to be irate. But it doesn't work. Tells him he had to do what... Tells Moxley he had to do was say yes to Jericho. And none of this would have ever happened. But he's not going to fight Moxley right now. He tells the rest of the inner circle come out because he calls them out. He says it's not going to be 5-on-1. Moxley says it's going to be the entire arena versus the inner circle. But the inner circle has more members come out. They're not members. They're just, I'm guessing they're independent wrestlers at this point. So 5 more people come out. So now it's 10-on-1 against Moxley. Moxley isn't afraid. He just goes out of the ring and just jumps right in the middle of it with no fear and just starts pounding the crap out of everybody. Atlas Security had to separate them all. That was a great start to Dynamite. It was a great segment. Next up was the Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade. But right before the match, there was a vignette with MJF walking into a butcher shop in the back and handing Bunny an envelope, presumably with a lot of money in it. And on the envelope, it said the Young Bucks. So he's pretty much paid them to not just win the match. He doesn't care about that. He just wants them to make sure that they can no longer wrestle. Match starts off with the Butcher manhandling both of the Young Bucks. He's a very strong man, even though for his size and his weight, he's very, very strong. He's very deceptive. Midway through, Matt Jackson gets the hot tag and clears house. That's expected. It's supposed to go that way. Young Bucks win with a best Meltzer driver ever. But after the match, the Butcher and the Blade get back in the ring and just beat the holy crap out of the Young Bucks. Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, the tag team champions, come out and they clear the ring. This is going to be kind of a long video, so just bear with me with this. Next up is Nyla Rose versus Big Swole. This match is power versus power. Nyla takes control early with offense on the outside. Big Swole brings it back in the ring and locks in the guillotine sleeper, but Nyla gets out of it. In the end, Nyla ends it with the Beast Bomb and a pin for the win. Not too much there. It was just power versus power, just a lot of slugging. Not too much there. Next up, we had Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford versus Cody with Arn Anderson by his side. If you haven't seen Cody's entrance, I have it here. You can watch it here right now. Now, there's no music to the video, to this entrance, only because it is copyrighted and I cannot use it. So just bear with me. Don't worry, I'll add a little bit of music to the bottom of that, but we'll get to that. Sabian starts off fast and catches Cody off guard. Sabian can really wrestle. If you haven't seen him wrestle elsewhere outside of AEW, you should watch some of his matches. He can wrestle. Cody, in the midst of beating up Sabian on the outside, hits Penelope Ford with a back elbow by accident. But it was a ploy to gain the upper hand on Cody. After Ford throws a boot into the ring, Arn Anderson gets in the ring because it was a distraction to delay the 3 count that Cody had on Sabian. So Arn gets in the ring. The referee tells him to get out. He tells him, what is he doing? He throws the boot into the audience somewhere, way towards the camera. And then he gives the ref a bump, which promptly makes the ref throw him out. Which is kind of what you expect from the ref to do. With a distraction from Kip Sabian to the ref, Penelope Ford hits a Rana to Cody on the outside. A funny bit, though, happens right after that. Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian go to kiss. Joey Janela steps right in between them from the crowd. It's hilarious. And he takes a kiss from both of them. And he seems quite happy doing so. It's really funny. Now, for those of you who don't know, Penelope Ford is Joey Janela's former girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, those two were. They were together. Which allows Cody, that little incident allows Cody to get back into it, but not for long. Although Cody does finish it with 3 crossroads because he's very, very angry at this point. And he gets a pin for the win. Next up, Britt Baker comes out. I'm sorry, Dr. Britt Baker, let's get that right, to speak with Tony Schiavone again. Calls Tony Schiavone Mr. Starbucks, whatever that means. I know what it means, but whatever that alludes to. Then she proceeds to berate JR. Says to never offend her again. Says all he cares to talk about is how she's a dentist when she's in the ring instead of her actual wrestling ability. She also says that it's her division and she's going to do what she wants. She's going to be here every single week, unlike Riho, who's the champion. She also tells JR that stop being a sloppy barbecue salesman and be the commentator that he used to be when she was growing up. And I personally agree with that comment. I want the old JR back. He was so good back then. Of course, a lot of lines were fed to him. But he is probably, in my opinion, the second best commentator of all time, right behind Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan was the best. Then she also tells the Cleveland crowd, which gets them all riled up, that she's a baker you can rely on. Which is funny, because she's referencing, obviously, Baker Mayfield, the QB for the Cleveland Browns. How ironic is that, huh? Then it cuts backstage with the Young Bucks. They say they're going to climb the ladder of the tag team division and get a shot at the AEW championships, the tag team championships. However, Paige and Kenny walk in, and Paige says, yeah, you might have a shot, but I have these, and he shows the new nameplate on his tag team belt. He also has the Bucks nameplates in his hand, and he hands both of them out, which probably pisses the Bucks off a little bit, but that's the way he goes. That's what he does. He says these plates would be on the belts if you were the champs. Next up, we have SCU versus Hybrid 2. It's a very even match, very, very early. SCU takes control in the middle of the match, but Jack and Angelico turn it around with some dirty tag team tactics. Kazarian gets the hot tag and takes over, but it doesn't last very long, as they usually don't. SCU ended it with an SCU later and picks up the win. Great tag team match between both teams. They are both, well, at least Hybrid 2 is well underrated. They are very good individually, and if you had saw them a few years ago in Lucha Underground, they were very good as well. They are a very, very good tag team. Now, as SCU is in the ring, it cuts to a backstage area, and the Dark Order comes down the stairs, and they said they got something to say to Frankie Kazarian. I'm sorry, to Christopher Daniels. They said that the Exalted One, the true leader of the Dark Order, doesn't like Christopher Daniels turning him down on that offer from last week or the week before. And they're going to target his family and his friends. So we'll see how that turns out. Who are they going to target first? Next up was Pac in a vignette saying the match with John Moxley was not acceptable because it was on a moving vessel, which, as you saw last week, was on a boat. But he says when Jericho is done with Moxley, he's going to come out and take his other eye out. Tells Kenny Omega finally that he hears Pac and can't stand Kenny's arrogance. He says he's not going to do it on his time, he's going to do it on my time, and it's going to start next week. And he says he's out for blood. Then we get the main event. It was Darby Allin and Private Party versus Jericho, Satana, and Ortiz. Darby is so fast, he outmaneuvers Jericho right off the bat. During the match, Jericho would only get in if his opponents were down or weakened, which plays up into his heel character. Through the break, it was Jericho was taunting the crowd, and Satana Ortiz beat up on Private Party. Darby finally gets the hot tag and cleans the ring of the Inner Circle, but all hell breaks loose after that. In the end, Jericho reverses Cassidy's kick into a Judas elbow and gets the pin for the win. After they leave the ring, Jericho decides to go back in the ring with everybody else, and the Inner Circle decide to beat up on everybody. As expected, because I expected it fully, it was no surprise to me that Moxley comes down to the ring to try and stop it, and he does so with a baseball bat, and the Inner Circle run off as they go off the air. Well, that's all the time I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Join me next time for another review of All Elite Wrestling next week. Vote in a poll above my head and tell me what you thought of the show. Me personally, I thought the show was great. I thought every segment, with the exception of the women's match, was awesome. And I'm going to give it a Dynamite. So you get to choose from. Starting at the top is Dynamite, AEW. Then we got AE Watchable. And then at the bottom was NXT was better. So vote in that poll, please. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to be in for that content giveaway. Till next time, always be elite.